The courtroom was silent when the jury walked in. Not the polite silence of anticipation, the suffocating kind. The kind where nobody breathes because everyone already knows what is coming, and nobody is ready for it. Judge Patricia Holt had presided over criminal trials for 22 years. She would later tell a colleague that in all that time, she had never seen a courtroom turn the way this one did. Not slowly, not over days, but in a single afternoon, because of a witness nobody expected to survive long enough to testify. To understand what happened inside that courtroom, you have to understand what happened 3 years earlier, in the parking structure of the Harlow Grand Hotel in downtown Clearfield on the night of October 9, 2020. Victor Crane was 51 years old. A real estate developer with a reputation for closing deals that other people said couldn't be closed. He had money, influence, and a carefully constructed image. He also had a business partner named Rowan Ash, and a dispute over $12 million that had been escalating quietly for 2 years. Rowan Ash was found in the parking structure just after midnight. He had been shot twice. He was alive when the first responders arrived. Barely. He lost consciousness en route to the hospital and spent 11 days in a medically induced coma. When he woke up, the first name he said was Victor Crane. Investigators moved quickly. Victor Crane was a person of interest within 48 hours. But interest is not evidence. And Victor had something that complicated everything. A lawyer named Delphine Cross, who was, by most accounts, the sharpest criminal defense attorney in the state. The prosecution built their case over 18 months. Phone records, financial documents, surveillance footage from the hotel lobby, testimony from a parking attendant who remembered a vehicle matching Victor's description entering the structure at 11:41 p.m. They were methodical. They were thorough. And then Rowan Ash walked into the courtroom, alive, recovered, and ready to testify. The defense had banked on Rowan not being well enough to take the stand. His recovery had been slow and complicated. There had been 2 additional surgeries. His neurologist had filed a preliminary report suggesting cognitive impairment from blood loss during the incident. Delphine Cross had spent months building her cross-examination strategy around discrediting his memory. What she did not anticipate was that Rowan Ash had spent those same months preparing for exactly this moment. He took the stand on a Tuesday morning. He walked without assistance. He wore a dark blue suit. He adjusted the microphone. He looked at the jury first, not at Victor Crane. Then he began to speak. He described the parking structure in precise detail. The smell of oil and concrete. The sound of his own footsteps. He described hearing someone approach from the stairwell to his left. He described turning. He described seeing Victor Crane's face clearly under the overhead light before anything else happened. The courtroom did not move. Then came the cross-examination. Delphine Cross approached the stand with controlled confidence. She challenged his memory. She referenced the neurological report. She walked him through inconsistencies in his early police statements, statements made while he was still on heavy medication in the hospital. She was precise. She was effective. The jury was listening carefully. And then Rowan Ash did something nobody in that courtroom expected. He reached into the breast pocket of his jacket and produced a folded piece of paper. He placed it on the railing in front of him. He did not unfold it. He looked at Delphine Cross and said calmly that he had written down everything he remembered the morning he woke from the coma, before anyone spoke to him, before any attorney visited, before he had been told anything about the state of the investigation. He stated the document was dated, signed, and had been submitted in sealed form to his personal physician the day it was written. The prosecution had not introduced this document. They did not know it existed. The defense had not been provided a copy, which meant it had never been disclosed, which meant its admissibility was now a crisis in the middle of a live trial. Judge Holt called an immediate recess. What followed was 4 hours of closed-door arguments between both legal teams and the judge. Court reporters were dismissed from the room. Spectators waited in the hallway. The jury was sequestered. When proceedings resumed, Judge Holt ruled the document admissible under the recorded recollection exception. She noted that its authenticity had been verified by the physician's sealed intake log from the same date. She noted that the defense would be granted additional time to review and respond. Delphine Cross requested a mistrial. It was denied. The document was read aloud in full. In it, Rowan Ash had described the shooter's clothing, the specific words spoken before the first shot, and one detail that had never been released publicly, a detail that only someone present at the scene could have known. A detail that matched physical evidence collected from Victor Crane's vehicle 2 days after the shooting. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Victor Crane was found guilty on all counts. Attempted murder in the first degree, assault with a deadly weapon, unlawful use of a firearm. He showed no visible reaction when the verdict was read. He straightened his tie. He whispered something to Delphine Cross. He was led from the courtroom without incident. At sentencing, Rowan Ash addressed the court directly. He did not speak about fear. He did not speak about the 11 days in a coma or the surgeries or the years of rebuilding. He said one thing that the courtroom remembered long after the gavel fell. He said, "I survived long enough to tell the truth. That was always the only plan." Victor Crane received 25 years to life. Here is what I keep thinking about. Delphine Cross was one of the best defense attorneys in the country. She had prepared for every variable. She had built an airtight strategy around a victim she believed could be discredited. And she was right until she wasn't. Because the one thing she could not prepare for was a man who had anticipated her entire strategy from a hospital bed and quietly built his own answer to it. I think this case exposes something uncomfortable about how we perceive victims in courtrooms. We assume fragility. We assume damage. We underestimate the clarity that comes from surviving something that was designed to silence you permanently. Victor Crane did not lose this case because of a dramatic mistake. He lost it because Rowan Ash simply refused to be the version of himself the defense needed him to be. If you believe that the truth has a way of surviving even when everything around it is designed to bury it, then you're in the right place. Subscribe. Because that is exactly what this channel is built on. And I want to know what you think in the comments. Did the defense make a fatal error by underestimating Rowan? Or was that sealed document the kind of move that no attorney in the world could have seen coming? Let's talk about it.